Peace. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I'm your foul player. Wanted to make a New York Met video, my one true love, the team that I love the most, the New York Metropolitans. But wanted to make a video regarding this news that's been coming up right at the cusp of the All-Star break, in that Juan Soto is not only up for trade, but that the Nationals are considering trading with the Mets specifically. Um, I want to talk about that mostly, and as far as what I'd be willing to give up in a trade of that sort. In my mind, Juan Soto is one of the best hitters I ever seen play. I compare him not as far as the style of the hitters, but as far as what I saw at a early point of their respective careers. I see a lot of Miguel Cabrera as far as like, wow, like this is like that kind of hitter at that age. Like I thought Miguel Cabrera was a nasty hitter at 20, one of the best hitters in the league at 20. And I saw that with Juan Soto immediately. And it's not like a 1 year wonder. He's doing that every year. He does that on an off year like this year, and he tends to put it on late in the year too. Like even on these off years, playing for the Nationals in shitty ass DC. But having said that, I think Juan Soto's one of the best players in the league. To me, he's top three. He might be better than Trout, except that he doesn't field as well, but he hits better than Trout in my eyes. Um, there's I would break the bank for him. There's another player that I would break the bank for too. As far as trade go, that I think is feasible, like to obtain in a trade, and I'll talk about that in another video. But I wanted to make a package of like what people are talking about, but what I think would be fair in as far as kids that we could send over there, prospects, players, established MLB players that we could send over there, in addition to contracts that they could take back, namely Patrick Corbin. Like, because Stephen Strasburg is not feasible to take back. Stephen Strasburg had like 4 years at a crazy number. Um, I think 4 or 5 years. No thanks on that. But I wouldn't be taking Patrick Corbin back, and I don't think the Mets would take Patrick Corbin back as is. Um, because Patrick Corbin signed for 23 this year, 25 million next year, and 35 million in the last year of his contract. It's a big number, especially at 35 million at the end. So I'll talk about that afterwards. But as far as like what the Nationals could get back, I mean, it's definitely going to be a package spearheaded by Francisco Alvarez, um, catching prospect of the Mets. Some may debate that he's the number one prospect in all of baseball, regardless of position. Um, that's debatable. Some people, but I think a lot of people will say that he's the best position player prospect in all of baseball. So I think it would be a given to include him in a package. Um, the Mets would be stupid for that to be a stopping point. I think they would also have to include one of Ronnie Mauricio and Brett Baty, and that's actually the rumor. Or I think it may have been Brett Baty. I think actually it was those two, Brett Baty or Ronnie Mauricio. Ronnie Mauricio. There's a possibility that Mark Ventos could have been these players that were interchangeable. Um, but I know they wanted one of those two, which that's a good thing that the Nationals are giving an indication that they were interested in one of those tandems at third base, shortstop, in Ronnie Mauricio, who plays shortstop, Mark Vientos, who plays third base, first base, outfield a little bit, and Brett Baty, who plays third base. So it's all these infielders, and I think they want two of those, which I'll drive him to the stadium. We have a outfield prospect. A lot of people don't talk about Alex Ramirez. I think he's actually good. They may be asking for him, but if it's a package of Francisco Alvarez, one or two of those infielders, it'll be a lot to ask for Alex Ramirez as a fourth player. As a third player, if you're including one of those infielders, Francisco Alvarez and Alex Ramirez, go for it. Take it. Um, Another thing that the Mets have that a lot of teams don't have is the ability to take back a bad contract in Patrick Corbin. But I don't think the Mets would it would favor them to like pay an exorbitant amount beyond like 10 million a year for this Patrick Corbin contract. I mean Patrick Corbin is somewhat pitching again after a long injury history shortly after signing with the Nationals, but he's a high five ERA pitcher at this moment. And to even pay 10 million for that, it's a lot. Like I'd be looking to pay like 6 million or some shit. Um, in addition to sending back like prospect tandem like that. And bear in mind that those prospects that I did mention, this is not a fluke year like where other people are saying that these guys, these prospects that the Mets have are valued by the Mets and nobody else. No, a lot of people around the league like value every prospect that I mentioned in Francisco Alvarez, Brett Baty, Ronnie Mauricio, Alex Ramirez, Mark Vientos. We are top heavy. We don't have a strong farm down the line, but we are top heavy. Now, a lot of people are going to frown upon the notion of trading, especially Francisco Alvarez, Met fans. But one good thing is that we did draft last night the best catching prospect in this year's draft, and probably the best hitting prospect in this year's draft in Kevin Parada from Georgia Tech, the catcher. Now he's not a good catcher, but he's a nasty hitter. He's a nasty, nasty hitter. You guys should be doing backflips that he fell to the Mets. If nobody else pans out, he's gonna pan out. This kid is good. The other guys that we added, Jet Williams, an infielder, Blake Tidwell, starting pitcher from Tennessee. I mean, that's another godsend. First round pick, in Blake Tidwell. Tidwell, I mean, from Tennessee. We also drafted a high school outfielder at Nick Morabito. He's all right. I mean, I think he got potential. But you already got like the opportunity to replenish some of the prospects that you're trading away. I mean, I'm telling you guys, Kevin Parada is going to be a good hitter at least, and he might be in the league next year because he was mashing at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is a AA level. They should start him at AAA. I mean, he's an advanced college player. Throw him right into AAA, and he's only 20 years old. I mean, and if he mashes at AAA, he's gonna be in the Mets, maybe next year. So I don't frown at the notion of trading away Francisco Alvarez. But also one thing that the Mets could do or could explore doing, which a lot of people would frown on too, is trading away some established players from the Mets. I have two in mind, and that's Jeff McNeil and or David Peterson. Now, a lot of Mets fans will frown on this too. But with Jeff McNeil, as far as having a replacement for him, you have on the roster playing second base the majority of the time, or as much as they could, Luis Guillorme, who's a revelation for the Mets. And I mean, it's not much of a revelation in the sense that he played pretty solid to good last year. Put him at second base. If you trade away Jeff McNeil's been playing second base and left field of late. It seems like it's crammed at left field, and adding Juan Soto to our outfield doesn't alleviate it much. It's still going to be a crowded outfield, but you have the opportunity to rotate Mark Canna, leave Nimmo at center field, um, give Marte a spell, like and put Canna at right field some days, and just leave Soto at left field full time. I think it'll be sick. And Canna is at a DH at times too. In some spots, I mean, he's giving you what the Mets want, and like what the as far as the style of play of the Mets, in where they wear down pitchers like and give long at bats. So you would still have Mark Canna playing the occasional DH, or Juan Soto playing the DH at times, or Marte or whoever, Nimmo. Um, so it's a good problem to have. And come this year in free agency, when it comes to re-signing Nimmo or not, you could probably let Nimmo walk. To be frank, I mean Nimmo's gonna command a high dollar amount. I think talking to my friend the other day, like I would see a 5 year, 6 year, $150 million contract for Nimmo on the open market. That's a big number. I mean, like, and I love Nimmo, but Nimmo does have a bit of an injury history. Like, do you want to commit that much money and that many dollars to Nimmo long term when you could, in the short term, put Juan Soto at left field, Marte at center field, and a Canna for 1 year at right field. I don't think it's the worst idea. Marte has experience at playing center field, and yeah, you're gonna lose a bit of a step replacing Nimmo with Marte for a couple of years. But I mean, if Nimmo's injured, um, it's all for naught. Marte doesn't get injured as often historically as Nimmo. Nimmo's been out for long spells. So I'd be tentative of giving him that big of a contract when I could use that money down the line to re-sign Juan Soto. Now a lot of people are saying dumb shit like, oh well, you just rejected 440 million for 15 years or 14 years. That was a bad contract. Like, I mean, like, you'd be dumb to take a contract like that. This is the big number. Like, I mean, if your house is worth 600,000 and somebody tells you, "Oh, I'll give you 450,000," like, and you say no, well, like, "Oh, well, $450,000 is a lot of money." Well, it is a lot of money, of course, but when you know you're worth more, I mean, why not wait 2 years and get 500 million from whatever team? But I also have a number in mind that I would retain Juan Soto for if we were to consummate this deal, which please God, make this deal happen for the Mets. I mean, that'd be so dope. I love Juan Soto. I mean, just imagine this year a lineup with Brandon Nimmo leading off, followed by Lindor, followed by Soto with Alonso at number 4, Marte at 5. Am I tripping? Yeah, Marte at 5, Escobar at 6. I mean, Canna at 7. It's just sick. I may be missing somebody, but I want to make this deal happen. I mean, and Juan Soto plays exactly in the Mets vein as far as like drawing a lot of large pitch counts, doing a lot of these at bats where it's just high pressure. I mean, I love it. Imagine that dude at number 3 on your lineup. Shit. That'd be sick. I think the Mets should make it happen if they want to make a run for the next 2 years. I mean, you're gonna have your lineup set for the next 2 years. Next year at least, you're still gonna have Canna on the in a pretty affordable contract. You still have Escobar. Yeah, he's not performing to what you like right now, but his contract is not killing you. Plus, if you make this deal with the Nationals, you're still gonna have one of Brett Baty or Ronnie Mauricio or Mark Vientos, who if Escobar is not performing up to par, you could promote one of these guys and then have them fight it out for that third base job. You know, so the team that you see in place right now would be the team that you would have in years forward, even without McNeil. Like, I mean, like, yeah, it sucks because McNeil is good, but if you traded a Jeff McNeil and or David Peterson in one of these packages, it has to be enticing for the Nationals too. I mean, because they're gonna have McNeil for another 2 years, similar to what they'll have with Juan Soto. But like, if you traded McNeil to the Nationals, in addition, or just like to take like so that you don't have to throw in as many prospects or a David Peterson, you would have a Jeff McNeil if you're the Nationals for 2 years, and then you could trade him away down the line, or sign Jeff McNeil long term. Jeff McNeil doesn't have a bad injury history. He's a really gritty player, all star, several year all star. He's an all star this year. Try re-signing him. I mean, would it be the worst thing in the world for the Nationals to rebuild with Jeff McNeil, sign him for 125? Like, it's not the worst thing. Or David Peterson. The Mets could trade David Peterson this year when DeGrom comes back, or even before DeGrom comes back, if you have Williams as a spot starter. I know David Peterson's beast in this year, but if you add him as a trade chip for the Nationals, I mean, you'd give way less prospects. I think because David Peterson has proved across at least 2 years that he's a really solid to good starting pitcher. I mean, and he's under team control for 3 more years after this year. So why not? If you're if you include him in a package, I mean, why not? If you're the Nationals, want him back. They're not going to shit on the notion of taking back David Peterson and or Jeff McNeil. They're both good guys. But as far as what I would pay, or the contract that I'd be cool with offering Juan Soto at the end of these 2 years, I would tell Juan Soto, listen, you know, we'll give you 50 million a year for 8 years, 400 million for 8 years. That would take Juan Soto to the age 33 season, or hit like it would. We would have Juan Soto on the Mets from the age 23 if we were to acquire him this year to the age 33, and we'd be paying him 50 million a year. I know it's a huge number, but you want to give him a number that's gonna be a world shatterer. I'm pretty sure nobody's gonna make 50 million by that point. And it's 50 million. I mean, like, it's a nice round number for a short term. Where at age 33 he may be able to go out and find himself another 5 year, 6 year contract. Um, I think he'd have to listen at that point. But I got it all figured out. I mean, yeah, you don't have Nimmo, but you're not like you don't have Nimmo's number either. I mean, Nimmo's gonna command 25 million a year. I mean, Marte. I mean, you're gonna have him the length of the contract to just about the time when you gotta re-sign Juan Soto in 2 years. You have Starling Marte for another 3 years. I mean, and it's not like the end of the. It's 20 million a year. I mean, at that point, the salary cap may increase. Who knows? But yeah, outfield is pretty much set. And then you let Mark Canna go next year. I think Mark Canna is making about 12 million a year. So in addition to being done with the Cano contract, which is another 20 million a year, if I remember correctly, too. So you're gonna have a little bit of money to play with. I mean, you are gonna have to potentially sign Jacob Degrom. I have my feelings on that too, um, which I'll get to in another video. But you're gonna have to re-sign some starting pitchers after this year. Taiwan Walker, um, maybe a Cookie down the line too. But those aren't like make or break. Those are like $15 million a year moves in both of them, you know, give or take. But I think this Juan Soto, adding him to the Mets. I mean, it just makes the Mets complete this year and years to come. I mean, but I think we should make that move. I would include almost everybody I just mentioned: Peterson, fucking McNeil, Alvarez, Baty, everybody I just mentioned. And as far as the money I would give him, endless. I think Juan Soto's a beast. It would be. Would you pay Miguel Cabrera whatever amount of money for at age 23 for 8 years? Absolutely, you got to do it. But let me know what you guys think. With that, I'm out. Peace.